Good evening. It is July 14th, 2020. We're here with the CTIs talking this week about ethics. So just a little bit of updating. This past week, CTF made the decision to cancel all upcoming hands-on training and certification, correct, Scott?
That is correct.
Yep, until further notice, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So we had a couple tests planned, but those are now off. So just in case people are reaching out, I believe the Register Now, Pay Later program is still in effect, correct? So if some people have interest, they can still sign up?
Absolutely. And the books go out the same day electronically.
Nice. So we can still push. We can still try to get people registered to take the test so they can start studying. And then as soon as everything settles down enough, we can hit the ground running. We should have plenty of people who are interested. Was there anything else to update on as far as CTF goes?
You know, what we could do is have people put do their module on like Facebook Live, and we all watch and critique.
That would be such a nightmare.
Past that, that's doing good.
That would be such a nightmare actually doing one of those.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Hey, Scott, can I jump in here real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
You Joseph, you went in a good direction, but you guys, you're all CTIs, but and if you're not, just a question. So we're concerned with the situation, right? The COVID situation around the country and what's going on in regards to trying to get groups together and social distancing. And what are your thoughts on CTIs? We're looking at each location and trying to judge if we feel comfortable and having evaluators travel across state lines and all of that. What are your thoughts? We'd like to hear from you guys what you think we should be doing or any ideas.
Thoughts as regard the actual test, the actual certification?
Yeah, right. Actually doing them, holding them and.
Well, I'll go first. My personal perspective on that is I think it's the right decision to stop from, we're talking about ethics right now. I think from an ethical perspective, it's the right thing to do. It's obviously difficult because financially we take a hit, but that is what it is. If we put on these tests right now, I feel like it's not just us and it's not just the people coming to take the test. It's whoever else they're going to be interacting with over the course of the next few days or whoever they might have interacted with beforehand. So while it's a really tough call, personally, I very much agree with it. John Roberts, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I know that coronavirus is spiking here in the South like crazy. And so I think it's a good idea that we have postponed some of the tests here in the South. As an evaluator, I would be willing to do smaller tests, maybe where there's just 3 or 4 guys, and maybe we have some kind of protocol where we have to check their temperature, before they take the test and do what employers are doing with employees.
So what we've done, John, thank you, I appreciate that. So what I've been doing is researching. I've talked with Schluter, and they're looking into, actually talked to Paige earlier today, and they're looking into redoing their workshops. And I talked to Chris Kane and his partner, I can't remember her name right now, I'm sorry, and Heather Rule, and discussed, they're doing a Gauge porcelain tile panel program in Colorado, Denver tomorrow, and what their thoughts are and how they're going about it. They have a lot of protocol put in place in regards to the tools being used in social distancing and requiring masks. So how do you guys all feel about masks if you have to wear masks to do these? If we required masks?
I think we've all worn respirators for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I know, I can only speak for my world, but it's, you have to wear a mask to work in people's homes these days,
Right.
But it's just part of the deal. I usually take it off when I'm in the bathroom by myself, but, I keep it on when I'm elsewhere. And it's just part of reality right now,
Agreed. I mean, I think most of us have been in the trade long enough that we're used to wearing N95s or now KN95s or even a cloth mask for hours on end. We're not dropping dead, right? So, John, go ahead.
One other thing that I wanted to bring up, and I was going to ask Scott, I know with CTEF not doing any CTI test right now, your income levels are probably down to zero. Do you have, Scott, do you have some kind of website or a PayPal thing that we can go on and donate to CTEF right now?
CeramicTileFoundation.org.
We do. And it's
Okay.
Friends of CTEF, and we have an acknowledgement page there as well.
Okay.
We're also working on some interesting things in the way of an auction, online auction, which we will debut in the future.
Okay.
And fortunately, I just got the announcement letter this afternoon that we were approved for an EIDL loan through the SBA. So that finally came through.
Nice.
But that's a payback loan.
It is.
So you know, it's not like a free money or anything. So we do have to make monthly payments for 30 years. So.
Yeah. Jim, I'll send a checkbook to you because I'm not going to be here in 30. So
Yeah, you think I will?
I don't think I'll be here in 30 years anyway.
So Jim and I are going to do these, and Scott won't. So Scott, you'll probably be around in 30 years, but Jim and I may not.
You're right, Chris.
So, does that sort of give you the perspective you're looking for, Jim?
Yeah, well, it's an idea. It's a start. Just so you all know, we meet every week. We talk about it. We talk to everyone that's hosting, get an idea of what's going on in their state. We follow this COVID situation very carefully, and we're trying to do the right thing. And it's not always that easy when you see others out training and doing things and wondering, are we doing the right thing? Are we respecting each other's health and in that direction? But we are continuing to look at it and make decisions that we believe are the right decisions. So I do appreciate all of you if you have any input at all.
Go ahead, Wayne.
I saw a post from Aaron last week about donating. Wasn't that the CTEF? Because I made a donation. I hope it got there.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Well, that's a program in
We don't know where
Texas.
the money goes, but I don't know that CTF's seen it yet. So
That's a program in Texas for Department of Labor.
But you ultimately get the money, right?
We haven't finalized how that's going to function yet. That's something rather new.
Now, Wayne, did you go to the CTEF website to donate, or did you donate through the link that Aaron had put up?
Donated on the link.
Okay, gotcha. So we'll sort that out. We'll get more information on that on the
Yeah.
next meeting as well. That way, everybody's clear on what happened. Upton, what did you have to add?
I was just thinking about this whole, trying to do the testing and stuff like that. I mean, we could do, like a couple, like just do like one or two pilot type things. I don't know if there's a particular area where like it makes sense, or like there's a overwhelming demand or something like that, or but maybe just one or the whole virus thing flaring back up is kind of a scary thing though, but maybe it may I don't know if it makes sense to do one or two like out the end of the year and just call it good at that. I don't know.
Maybe in areas where the numbers are declining steadily.
So that's another good question, because one of our things is that we decided to take a stance, whatever our stance is. No matter where the situation is or where the test is taking place, if we make a decision as CTF, we feel we kind of, at this point, are kind of holding it true to everyone, because we do have a possibility of doing a program in Vermont, which is a slow COVID situation. We have an evaluator that's interested in doing it. We have a program in Ohio that could be positive, but now Ohio's back on the rise again. And it's like, just as you start thinking about scheduling it, that area starts to go back on the rise or something. And that's the hard part. So we are looking at that, Jim.
So Olson, what standards are you guys looking to make these sorts of decisions? Are you looking at individual state standards, CDC standards? What are you sort of aiming for as far as targets, or are you just trying to play it by ear?
Individual state, CDC. I virtually look at those because of our NTCA training programs also. I look at those every day, and I'm following those so close. It's actually starting to drive me crazy. I'm up nights trying to figure out how we can make this stuff happen and work. Scott is been asked and is in contact with every one of the hosts. He talks to them to see what their situation is, how they feel about it. We talk to the evaluators, and then we send an email out to every one of the registered installers that is going to take the test to see where they feel. We let them know that we're just keeping in touch with them at this point. We're not saying it's happening now, but we are looking at those, Joseph, as we go on a every week for sure, if not every day. We are talking about it and working on it. So
good to know.
Our goal is to get back. We were on a unbelievable beginning of this year and would have loved to continue on, and just a little hiccup in the way, I guess.
Yep. Unavoidable challenges, right? So,
yep.
All right. Did you have anything else that you wanted to follow up on that?
No, that's good. I just really, if you guys want to send me an email on any of your ideas or anything, we're open to it. Scott or myself or Mark. We're looking for the best way to open up.
Gotcha. You and the federal government, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we have a plan. They don't.
All righty.
I'm glad you said that, Scott.
So wanted to have this discussion on ethics because I think that this is sort of a backbone to a lot of the discussions that we've had, as well as sort of the overall purpose of certification, right? I mean, ultimately, when we talk about failures, when we talk about homeowners getting nothing close to what they paid for, all sorts of that stuff, the goals of having qualified labor, ultimately, the backbone of that is ethics, right? And just so that we're all on the same page, ethics and legalities are not the same. Ethics is doing what's right, and legalities are obviously doing what's legal. A lot of times they're the same, but they're not always the same, right? So I've put a couple links in the chat. There's 2 articles that I thought were really interesting about ethics in construction specifically, right? Because obviously there's that age-old question of, would you steal bread to feed your family? That doesn't really have anything to do with what we're talking about, right? We're talking about our work, our trade, and what that looks like. And so I was curious for you guys, what do you see as far as ethical challenges in our trade as tile contractors? Let's go. What you got, Blood?
Go. Sure, I'll go.
Okay,
So,
Chris.
Hey, Mike, how you doing? Good to see you. Woody.
Hey, Chris.
My shared birthday buddy, James. I don't know you. Joe, nice to talk to you again.
You too.
Matt,
Yeah,
we don't know each other. Scott and I just talked an hour ago.
You keep holding up that cigar. I think you're just rubbing it in.
Anyway, so, this is a constant battle for us. We don't compete on price because we can't compete on price with a guy who is picking guys up off the parking lot. We pay our guys full medical. One of our guys, older like me, was basically home for 4 weeks paid because he's 59, a little overweight, diabetic, so the guy's with the company. But, some of these younger guys who are bulletproof and they don't care about the ESOP and the 401k and all that stuff, they'll leave you for a quarter because there are guys out there paying cash. And to me, this is what the whole ethics thing is all about. I am part of that guy. I'm one of those guys that worked for cash that thought it was a great deal, that I'll be working till he's 70 because I was always waiting for that next big score to come around. It just doesn't. You know, you got to get guys into a company. You got to get them with guys that take care of their people. You know, and those are the guys that do the right job because you got companies looking out for them and making them do the right job. Guys that don't know any better, working for themselves, working for cash. That's a hard life, man. And there's no future in that for a young tall guy. He's going to burn up his body. He's going to burn up his usefulness in the field. He's never going to get the job done correctly, and he's going to wash out.
Yeah.
So to me, you know, we keep preaching that all the time. I know I'm singing Mike's tune, but you know, really, truthfully, you gotta look for companies that take care of their people.
And I think that's a real important issue. Probably the biggest issue is proper wage, right? Let's get back to that in a minute. Blood, what did you have to mention?
I don't know if it's necessarily ethics, something that I can control, but one thing that I run across here a lot is builders, big builders doing very expensive homes who only care about day 366. They don't care about anything beyond that. So it's their ethics that make it tough for, I mean, I can't say I'm not doing all right. I don't compete on price. Like I don't probably nowhere near the level of what Chris was talking about, but I mean, I won't compete on price. I'm at the point where I've got enough work and I've got enough loyal builders that know that I'm doing it correctly and know they have nothing to worry about ever. But some of these other builders that are building homes that are, you know, $1 million, $2 million, $5 million homes, and they're using a guy who's putting CBU on the wall in a mud bed with Curdy band on the seams and thinking he's got an awesome shower that's going to last a lifetime.
Yeah.
The ethics of the builder is what we run across a lot of here in the Northeast.
That's an interesting one. I found one article online that I like this description that sort of encapsulates this. It says ethical behavior is often measured by the degree of trustworthiness and integrity with which companies conduct their business. So integrity, trustworthiness, and that's exactly what we're talking about, right? So the sorts of people that we can do business with, like Blood said, and then like Chris was saying, how we conduct ourselves as companies with wages, right? Paying appropriately. And obviously when we're ethical, it kind of lifts us out a little bit of the morass of the sort of 25 cents for or $1 a foot for tile, $1.25 for diagonal, right? So we are, one of the things that we're aiming to have eventually is a code of ethics for CTIs. What are some of the sorts of issues that you guys think should be addressed in that sort of code of ethics?
Continued education.
Okay.
Yeah, to me, CTI is about workmanship. I don't know if you can go down that how to run your business mode for a CTI, because if a guy's, you know, single guy, maybe one finisher, helper, whatever with him, it's pretty tough to tell him he can't take a job for this or that. But, you know, if he's taking jobs that are consistently installed correctly, he's going to build his reputation and hopefully have work in the pipeline at his price. But
okay.
I don't think you can tell guys how to pay somebody. I just think that the smaller guy just has to be focused on quality of work.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that a code of ethics could necessarily cover wage, right? But Matt, you're talking about continuing ed. Can you expand a little bit on how that relates to the ethics?
I just see it as one of my personal core values that I just won't stop growing. So I think that the education helps to improve you as a person. And so for me, it eventually it'll come down to an ethical issue. If you just become stagnant, I have an issue with that personally.
Okay. What about, go ahead, Olson.
So I like what Matt just said, education. I think it's very ethical because I think you're out there saying you are a trained installer that knows the correct methods and standards. And how do you learn the methods and standards? Most of you don't learn those on the job working with someone else and being trained by, someone that way. I think you do need to get educated, and I think you need to find the vehicles that can give you that education for the methods and standards of your industry, of our industry, and what we do. I think that's very ethical. So the more you're trying to promote yourself as a qualified tile installer, the more knowledge you should have. You should be always working to get that knowledge.
So you guys are seeing it kind of like an ethical obligation to keep up to date with current methods and standards. I like that.
My feeling.
And I didn't ever view the CTI as like, okay, I arrived. Like, no, it's a stepping stone in my career. So I mean, it's just a yeah, it was a cool achievement, but I'm not done just because I became a CTI. So if you think that you're done learning after you pass this one test, I think you're going to be surprised.
Agreed.
Matt, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So have you been in a situation where you've had a client who's looking for tile and you've been able to use that, I've got this level of education and certification, and the other guy may or may not, and did that ever help swing a job your way?
Yeah, absolutely. Whether it be homeowners, insurance agents, manufacturers, I've had all of those scenarios. They've reached out to me because I can back it up on paper as well as with my hands.
That's awesome.
Good point.
Interesting. So sort of in line with that, so like keeping up to date with standards and methods, that's one ethical obligation that could definitely be included in the code of ethics. What about like execution? What do you guys think about that? How could that be addressed? Because
Joseph,
yes, sir.
you got me?
Yes.
I think you're talking about a pledge, right? I mean, it's kind of we all in the 5-star groups, we do the same thing, right? We're making a pledge, and then there's some accountability in that pledge with continuing education, which would be fairly easy to do. And you know, you make a pledge just like every gentleman on this call and lady, that you know, we choose to have a sense of core values every day and choose to run a business ethically. You know, as I've spoken in the past, we focus in on what we do and quit focusing in on what the market's doing, and that, because that just runs me down rabbit holes that I can get frustrated over, as we all can. The guy who's, you know, basically running a very, you know, cash only business, or a business that really doesn't care if he's got failures. I mean, the warranty's more like, how fast can I get out the driveway? And that's certainly a black eye for the industry. I think doing the right thing ultimately overcomes all the bad things we hear and see.
I agree. So I guess that's another question for the group here then, is if we had a code of ethics and a pledge to kind of go along with that, and that's been suggested a few times in these meetings, what does everyone think about that idea as far as it being tenable, or even, you know, a good idea versus a bad idea? I'd like to hear everyone's thoughts on that. I see Macaluso is a fan of it. Pretty much everybody seems to be in agreement. Does anybody think that it's not a good idea? Actually, maybe that's a better. Go ahead, Upton.
So I kind of like, are we talking about how binding it is? You know, because like that's one of the things I wonder about is like, you know, like what are the consequences of, like, you know, what is this, just sort of a formality, or like, you know, what's the consequences of breaking it?
That's a good question. Go ahead, Olson. What do you have to say on that?
So we're working on a code of ethics and a compliance form that goes with it. And our idea is that you sign a yearly compliance form to go along with the code of ethics, that you're going to follow the code of ethics. And if you don't sign it and follow through with it, then I mean, really all we can do, we'll never be able to take that CTI number away from someone, right? So all we are thinking, and we've not made a final decision, but we're thinking we would not list them on the CTI list.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know, it's our only real power that we have is when someone's looking for a CTI in their area, they're not going to be listed. So, but that's where we're thinking of going. And I just wanted to let you know. So code of ethics that we're looking at will have something on competition, qualifications, standards of practice, conflicts of interest, public safety, service provider and suppliers, employees, public information, compliance with the law, image of the construction industry, and internal procedures, and then a compliance agreement with it.
Sounds pretty comprehensive. Macaluso, what do you have to say? Caught you right while you were eating a chip. Well, Joe, we can't hear you.
All right, now?
Yep.
All right. Yeah, you know I've been advocating for a code of ethics, especially holding this, CTI. It's a necessity. Every other business has a code of ethics. You can pull up the International Longshoremen's Association. Any union has a code of ethics. Any industry has a code of ethics. We just missed that mark. By having that, it just gives everybody a pledge, to promise and deliver to the best of our ability and in accordance to the TCNA. Become a little bit more loyal to the handbook.
Yeah, I agree. So I think that's a good point too. What you mentioned there is that, or let me rephrase. I'm going to expand on that point because with the code of ethics and that compliance agreement, that adds more weight and legitimacy to the certification. When homeowners go and they research what is a CTI, and all of a sudden they say, oh, not only do they know what they're doing, not only do they understand how to make my house not crack and not have my tile not crack, but they're actually upholding themselves to this standard, et cetera. I know that, especially if the consequences are listed there too, if somebody's not in compliance with this, they're not on this list. That adds more weight and legitimacy, which for a bigger company maybe is not the biggest difference, but for smaller companies who are out there, that can be all the difference in the world if somebody has a third-party assurance of ethical behavior. It's not just me saying, hey, you should trust me. I've been doing this for a while and I have a number, right? Does anybody else have anything to add on that? So one of the things that I found very interesting in the article on LinkedIn about ethics, a couple of the things that are kind of clear demarcations of unethical behavior that I think we've all seen, and even maybe we've run into this ourselves, or the temptation at least. The very first one was not ensuring your project is safe. Now, this is a particular bugaboo of mine, and I know that a lot of you here as well have the same sort of passion about it. But like little things like safety guards on your grinders, safety glasses, providing appropriate PPE, all that jazz, not just for yourself or your employees, but for your clients, right? Like making a safe environment for your clients. How much of a role should that be playing in the CTI ethical code?
I think it should play into it. I think part of us is an education as you grow and you become more professional in your trade. Part of it, I think a lot of it's education, right? You know, what you don't know, right? And some guys have been, I remember I was rewatching something from Coverings Live with Amber and Trask, and I guess Trask had a run-in with OSHA, and he learned. He learned the hard way. I think I always want to give people the benefit of the doubt that they want to do the best, but they just don't know. And then you got to kind of take it from there.
Agreed. So another thing that's in this list of things, again, this is all sort of, I'm just curious as far as how you guys see this and how you guys execute it in your work. This isn't a policy meeting, obviously, but I am curious to see just how different CTIs across the country have dealt with this, like, bidding a certain system, for example, like an Arctic system, a Schluter system, a Laticrete system, but not meeting warranty terms, not having appropriate insurances, stuff like that. I'm curious, like, how you guys encounter those and what you do to address them.
I just shared a couple of documents with you, Joseph, on what we're doing at JNR. I think they could be useful. You're welcome to share them with the group. Scott, Jim, y'all are welcome to look over them, edit them as you wish. But I think it's a really good basis and foundation, making sure that your GC, your customer, feels safe. And I think it could be used from owner operator to, David Allen Company, Tommy Connor at Superior. I think those policies and procedures, like, I think it was, who said it? Somebody said it on here. Can't remember. Just in terms of being, just the professionalism involved as a competitive advantage versus their competition. They don't have those things in place. That people want to feel safe right now. That there's, a SWOT analysis to this: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. This is a great time to capitalize on the strengths and opportunities while everybody else has their finger up their ass. What can you do differently? How can you make sure that they know you are the professional in your area?
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess that's a whole nother side of it, is when you're, especially since the construction world is so full of unethical actors, if you are operating in a good, safe, healthy way,
you're cut above.
You can use that to distinguish yourself, raise your profits, and start pulling away from those hacks. I put the two files that Aaron mentioned into the chat. One is a health statement, the other is work planning. Super valuable information, and a lot of work that went into it that a lot of us can take advantage of. So thank you for sharing that, Aaron. I really appreciate that.
You bet. Y'all know I'm super dorky, so use what you can.
So, and Aaron, I'm super unsophisticated, so you're gonna have to email me those because I can't find them on Joseph's chat.
Who is that? Is that Mike talking?
That's Chris Walker.
No, it's Chris.
Yeah, Chris, I got you, Chris. I'll send them via email. Make sure you click on the attachments, though, bro. Okay.
That much
Send it to me, Aaron. Also.
You got it. Jim.
Thank you.
You bet.
So, does anybody else sort of have like a plan of attack for how to approach these things as they come, or is everybody just sort of playing it by ear when they come? I know that the bigger companies like David Allen and DW Sanders, I know that they have that sort of structured out. But what about the smaller ones? What do you guys have in place officially? Or does anybody? Go ahead, Joe.
Are we talking about what, COVID policies or just employee standards?
I'm thinking just in general, sort of safety standards, plan, or really anything that has to come up like that we've talked about with ethics, where, if we encounter this situation, what is the actual policy that's guiding your decisions? Or is it sort of you as the boss, as you encounter, you make decisions, or do you have a policy in place?
Let's step out for a minute.
We have a policy set in place. I'm very anal and trying to get have everything ironed out in the beginning. So you pretty much eliminate any kind of discrepancies in the future or arguments per se, because you give them an employee when they're onboarding, okay, they'll get an understanding. Okay, I'm going to get paid every 2 weeks, every 10 days. You get 10 days vacation. You know, you have everything outlined. And then with this additional COVID thing, that's also a supplemental. They got to understand, you know, you're getting it every day. You have to document your temperature with this thermostat. You have to exercise these precautionary measures, et cetera, et cetera. Always have a clean mask. You just got to have your procedures set in stone, you know, in the beginning. And then obviously as you progress, somebody will throw a curveball and you make sure you'll add that that new topic into your employee handbook. Just, you know, grow as you go. But there's standards ones out there already.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. Wilner, you were saying something too?
No, and that's I guess that's where I'm at in my business right now. So I'm here to learn from others because I'm at the point right now where my ethics come down to put the shoe on the other foot and treat people respectfully, you know, and just try to do the right thing. But I know that I can't grow a company without having it written down on paper.
Yeah.
So my wife is coming on board. She was coming on board until this COVID thing happened, but that's some of the stuff that I want her to sit down and get it on paper so that it's on paper and this is what we do in this situation.
Yeah. Ultimately, it always comes down to accountability, right? Accountability to yourself. I'm currently in the process with my company trying to develop like a written policy, but the sort of overall philosophy that I'm kind of based off is, what do I owe to my clients? What do I owe to my company? And then what do I owe to my trade, right? And that's sort of that's my personal guiding principle, but I'm trying to put that into effect. And so it is interesting to see sort of everybody's perspective. I think a lot of us have pretty much the same idea on this sort of thing. And I was honestly expecting a little bit more discussion, a little bit more, a few more suggestions on what to include or what not to include. But I think it kind of goes in line with.
Well,
oh, go ahead, Woody.
I think, Joseph, I think the hard part's going to be there. It's just like somebody said here just a few minutes ago about what Matt did, excuse me, my hero up there, up in the Carolinas.
I thought I was your hero in the Carolinas, Woody.
It's just like the CTI was at the end of it, right? This becomes different for Joseph. Your company has different things you need to cover legally. Matt, yours will become different as you grow. There becomes issues with DOL and as you go to 20, as you go to 25, as you get larger, as you move up, policies will have to change. If you employ anybody now, the CARES Act is in play. So, you have to make decisions as to do you declare hardship? How do we have to address that? And as you grow, you have to dedicate. I think the hard part and the challenging is it's real good even at y'all's size to sit down and figure out, okay, I'm going to allocate so much resources this year towards doing this, right? Look, I'll open and show you. I just read through Aaron's stuff, absolutely fabulous. It's out there. I think that's the benefit of all of us being together, right? I'll learn just as much from you as you will from me, because I want to figure out how to we're all challenged in navigating this every day, right? And what I've chosen to do, because even for a company our size, we went out and hired an external HR firm that does consultation for us, as we did with our safety. So there was areas that we said, hey, we can't dedicate staff members, but we can develop programs, get suggestions, and then come back in. I think I heard we were getting involved with it. OSHA does a voluntary program that if you're engaged with them, as long as you make the commitment to make the changes that they're suggesting, which will be the proper changes anyway, those resources are really there for you. But I think as you're looking at your business plan every year, you've got to kind of allocate those dollars and times to it, because every day is, with all of us, it's let me just get the job done and move on to the next, right? And it's never a problem until it becomes the problem. So that it goes back to that planning you've got to constantly be up on, and it'll always be changing as you kind of move through as different growth, getting to different levels, and your company's level has different challenges. And then you get up to David Allen and the guys are doing those type of institutional and airports, and they have a completely different series of challenges than I face in that. So but it's making that plan. Also, obviously, all our plans this year are very disjointed, and we're just trying to, I find my company to be very disjointed right now because we brought everybody into our offices every Wednesday. That's when our apprenticeship programs were going through. That's when our training was being done. And obviously, I haven't figured out that, we just have stopped. We can't do it safely right now.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Joe, go ahead. I see you put a couple links into the chat box for everyone.
Yeah. All right. So reason why I did a handbook, this is a similar one I based off of my model off of these examples. These are obviously a little bit of a company. I'm tiny. I only have 3-4 guys, but they're taking my work vehicle. It's under my name. My brand is on that work vehicle. I have workman's comp. So I got to have all these stipulations covered, right? If they driving, or if they happen to be driving under influence, and you don't have an employee handbook that describes all these, A, B, C, D, you're on the hook at the end of the day, So if you actually write these down, you have your attorney write it down, you have your insurance, you provide this your insurance, the details on the workman's comp claims, accidents, work vehicle, where it should be, et cetera, et cetera. You have at least a little systemic. If you plan to grow, from what I experienced, it's really hard to grow after 2-3 guys. Okay. Once you go past 2-3 guys, they don't have those standards already established. Chaos. It's absolute chaos. But if you have this and everybody understands what their obligations are and they initial through each header, it just gives a lot more clarity for all operations, for people to comprehend what's their responsibilities and what's their liabilities and what's on the basis of getting laid off or taken off from the company's books.
That's a great point.
These are examples. These are very good, and it's not going to apply to everybody. A certain, like the Marbury is a bit larger, but it's a good standard. It's a good to follow.
Something that we can get an idea out of. So that's in the chat for everyone. There's 2 different employee handbooks that he linked for different companies, so you can check that out. That sort of goes even if you're not like a big company, even if you're small scale. A good question to ask is, do you have a contract? How can you be a contractor without a contract? You're leaving yourself open as well as your clients open to all sorts of problems, right? So having something that's written up, not just that you pull off the internet, it's worth the investment to pay a legal expert the same way we expect people to pay us as tile experts, a legal expert to make your legal document that's going to put your livelihood on the line or protect it. Definitely something important to take into account. Olson, do you have something to say?
Oh,
gotcha. Sorry. So, I don't think, it doesn't seem like anybody else has much more to add to this.
Tim Fitzgerald is someone that Chris Walker had referenced to me, who's excellent in the type of language and contracts to protect your company.
Tim Fitzgerald?
Tim Fitzgerald. I've used him a lot. He has taught me so much. He's very reasonable, and he doesn't just review contracts. He can also help you create your own, like, if you have a GSA or a job order contracting, the type of kind of smaller work, just the language that's put into it. He's excellent. He's a great resource that I learned by being a 5-star.
he only works for subcontractors. He won't work for a GC. He came from the GC world, and he saw all the abuses that took place. So, yeah, he's an invaluable resource. I'm glad you've gotten an opportunity to
I love
take
that.
advantage of
And
that. But
he's spoken at coverings quite a few times. I was like the best session to go to, right? Delays and disruptions, all the things we see as in finished trades to help us protect ourselves.
yeah, extended performance. You know, how often are you waiting on a job that is disrupting your schedule, disrupting your cash flow? How do you collect and recover from that? You know, it's very difficult to.
He teaches you how to quantify it into dollars, and,
Right.
and yeah, he's excellent.
Oh, very nice. We're gonna have to look that up. Upton, did you have something you wanted to say?
So I was just gonna say I'm just an owner operator, and so I have, but I've kind of gotten a lot of this stuff. I sell it to the customer a lot of times, that we're gonna enclose the bathroom and use dustless stuff and all that stuff, so it's not so much like because I have to, I got a contract and all that, but it's just about being professional and kind of setting yourself apart from, the other guy that doesn't do any of that stuff. You show that you're kind of like an actual business, and there's some expectations as far as, the safety and that sort of thing. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, that was a great one. Joe, go ahead.
I wonder, figuring to make it a more incentivized, an incentive to join a CTI, have a special partner per se.
Okay.
Being a CTI, you have this accessibility to these extra resources to better your business, become a better business person, not just a professional CTI.
Great idea.
It's actually an added advantage.
Value.
It's a perk.
A value.
A value, exactly, 100%.
That's interesting. So how would that
business coach?
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying.
But Luca, make a plan where you're going to give them 30 days for free. And if they're kicking ass and taking names, then they can pay for it. Somebody on contingency, something that they can try that they haven't had before as an experience to add that value where they can see it work and quantify it. That's a great idea.
So do you guys think that, so my initial reaction to that idea is it's a great idea, but do you think that it might pull away from the mission statement of CTEF if we add programs like that, as opposed to programs like that being more from NTCA, for example?
I'm a member of the NARI, North American Remodeling Industry as well, right? Because we specialize in bathrooms, and it also gives me another acronym right next to our name.
You love those. You love those letters, Joe.
I love those acronyms.
I do too, bro.
we need the ACT though. I need that A.
Yeah.
So the NARI has those incentives and that extra added value, like the one, for example, where we had that insurance agent come on board to explain all those categories for COVID, and as well as the liability insurance, if you're being listed under the correct coding. That's added value. CTI can do the same thing. There's other industries and specialties, they have that added value. Okay. That's just something to think about,
Definitely.
The NTCA route, right? It's more of an NTCA route and partner, but I'm with them. Like, how can we show more value? I get it. I don't know what it looks like, but it's a great idea.
So Joe, those speakers are they cost money, and CTF is struggling right now to pay our employees, and that's why we're looking at different things. NTCA puts on those kind of programs, and they should be there. But there are probably speakers that would volunteer to do webinars or programs like that we could do. Yes.
Yeah, foot in the door kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
Foot in the door kind of stuff. Yeah.
They have to sell themselves,
Nonprofit. People love that. People love to be a volunteer for a nonprofit. We got to pitch it that way, right? Jim, we got to pitch it that way.
How you sell it, Aaron. All how you sell it.
Upton, what did you want to add?
I got to stay in my lane, bro. I'll sell it.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I think it's more NTCA territory. Business. You don't have to be a business person to be a CTI, and so I don't know how much of that stuff would appeal. maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't, you know. But to me, it's just a little more NTCA, you know. I don't need to pour water on the whole
But
thing.
it doesn't have to be. I'm with
It's-
Joe. Why? It
It's,
doesn't have to be.
I think it's something to look at and to see where they might intersect, you know. So
Maybe
it's
a
definitely-
query, maybe a quick email out to everybody. What do you see adding the most value on top of your CTI, and get some feedback from the 1,700 people, you know, and take it from there.
That's a good point. Joe, were you saying something? Because we couldn't hear you.
All 14 of you will answer.
You could be a badass installer, okay? But you could be a horrible business owner.
That's a lot of guys.
I have a finance degree. They don't teach you this stuff in college, you know, how to run your own business. It's a totally different animal. There's no education on this. You learn as you go. But if you have a business mentor or coach of added value, how do you set up QuickBooks?
No.
You know,
YouTube, that's what you do.
You just hire.
Right? They don't know. They don't know.
A bookkeeper.
Wellner, what did you want to say?
I was just going to throw out there, I mean, I think it's a good idea, but if you're the kind of person that wants a business coach, you're going to get a business coach and you're going to pursue it and you're going to move on with life. It would be a great benefit, yes, but if you've got that personality, you probably have already done it. If you're looking for a mentor, you're going to have a mentor.
Testimonials are important, right? If there are people working with current CTIs that can say, this person helped me grow my business, then there's some added value to that. Or maybe people that, like you're saying, have been on the fence or on the other side of the fence go, well, hell, if I'm going to make more money, why wouldn't I do this, right? And then we have that resource that's connected to that other CTI and these relationships that we have. It's complicated, but not really.
It's a lot of moving parts to make a simple move.
Come on, Joseph. It's not that bad.
It's a Rube Goldberg machine. All right. Did anybody else have anything else that they wanted to add before we wrap this up?
I mean, I know Chris and I can vouch for Tim and talk to him for sure.
I'll have to.
That's kind of big boy contracts, though. I don't know.
Yeah, I've got a 2-page contract for my company. So
shit, 2 pages?
That's it.
Oh
That's all I need here. So
330-page contract today. Almost had a seizure.
So if nobody else has anything to add, then I'm going to go ahead and end this recording. All right.